The video started. Oh, I'm gonna teleport in. All right. Hello, welcome back. It is Thursday. We're gonna go ahead and get into our United States and Canada government review. I'm your host, Mr. Arasola. Let's get it. Now, the first topic we're going to talk about, review, is going to be a constitutionally limited government, also known as a limited constitution government. Remember, the whole purpose of having a constitution, whether it be the United States Constitution or the Canadian Constitution, the whole purpose is to limit or to basically prevent the government from being too oppressive, having too much authority or power over its people. All right. So again, remember the United States and Canada both fall under this type of government, constitutionally limited or limited constitution government. Some characteristics, these aren't all the characteristics, but they're just some of these are going to be a president being elected through popular vote, also having a term limits, Supreme Court judges being elected by a legislative body, a unicameral legislature with multiple parties actually representing the country or its constituents, its citizens. A unicameral legislature just means a legislature or a legislature with just one house or one area where the legislature actually passes the laws. This tends to be the case for smaller democratic countries, but both the United States and Canada are actually not unicameral. They are actually bicameral, so they have two houses. I know the United States has the House of Representatives and the Senate, so technically we don't fall under this particular bullet point here. We do have a bicameral legislature, not unicameral, but unicameral legislatures can still be considered constitutionally limited government structures. Also having a voting age, also a characteristic that tends to be included in constitutions. Remember, again, the whole purpose of having a constitution is to limit the power of the government. Literally written out, we the people of the United States, in a nutshell. Okay, that's like the beginning of our constitution. These are the sort of rules or the structure for how the government is to operate and how it should not oppress or repress its citizens. All right. So again, it is not an unlimited government. It is not a repressive government. It is not a government where it is ruled by one. All right. It is ruled by many, which we'll be discussing in another slide. All right. So not a dictatorship. It is a constitutionally limited government, and that applies to both the United States and Canada. Next, capitalism. So shifting over to the economic side, free market / enterprise. So it's capitalism, also known as a free market economy or a free enterprise economy. Again, this applies to both the United States and Canada, and this just means that people can run their business their own way. They have economic freedom, the second bullet point right there. Now, remember, the government is actually limited. Very, very little power in the economy for both the United States and Canada. The government has very, very little power, but the small amount of power they do have tends to be to promote economic growth, such as the trade deals that we discussed in a previous lesson, like NAFTA, so the North American Free Trade Agreement, that is now obsolete. It is now the USMCA, or the United States Mexico-Canada Agreement. So government does help promote the economy in that sense. And they also do regulate the safety and fairness of businesses, such as the FDA or the Food and Drug Administration, where, yes, you are free to run your own business, but the government does intervene by passing some laws or even creating these organizations, these government organizations that do regulate and make sure that businesses are, not just sending out, products for consumption that could, kill citizens or, severely harm them just in order to turn a profit. All right. So the small amount of power that the government does have, it is meant to promote the economy and to help regulate businesses in terms of safety and fairness. Okay. Next, so representative democracy. Again, this is the specific type of democracy that is for both the United States and Canada. Not just a democracy, it's representative democracy. And what this means is that representatives or government officials that we elect are chosen by the people, so citizens of the country, of both the United States and Canada. All right. Remember, the process that we choose these representatives is called voting. Now, again, if you were in class today in person, we really harped on this, or I really harped on this. Rule by many. Rule by many. This is like the key word here for a democracy, right? Not rule by one, so not a dictatorship, not ruled by a few or a small group or clique. That would be an oligarchy. All right, so not either of these two. It is rule by many. That is the whole foundation, the whole purpose. It's even in the name, which we're going to get to the next slide. Democracy means rule by many, or power to the people. All right, the big fancy way of saying this is popular sovereignty. Okay, power to the people, popular sovereignty, rule by many, representative democracy. All right. Now, getting into the last part of this review, for the government part at least, the roots of democracy. Okay, so almost like a miniature history lesson here. Where did democracy really even come from? Well, it's actually highly debated, but most historians tend to agree, or there tends to be a big consensus, that the birthplace of democracy was in fact going to be Athens, Greece. So Athens was a city, Greece was going to be the country. This was way back in ancient times. So, BCE. This was actually going to be, so democracy was actually going to be thought of as, or by a guy named Solon. And Solon, also the ancient Greeks tended to not really have, I guess they didn't really have last names. They tended to just really have just one name. So Solon was just his name. So he was an archon, or a ruler. That's what they called their rulers of cities at the time in Greece. So he was an archon, and he laid the groundwork for democracy in Athens. All right. So there was a whole bunch of political, civil, economic unrest, a whole lot of corruption going on with the aristocrats, or the people that were in charge. And Solon came in and he saw this, and he's like, hey, you know what? Maybe if I actually start giving a little bit more power away from myself and to the citizens of Athens, maybe all this corruption, all these horrible things going on in the city, in the country even, maybe it would be far less. Okay, and it actually ended up working pretty well for the most part. So that's actually the start of democracy. Now, the actual word democracy is actually Greek. So it comes from the Greek word demokratia. I believe that's how you say it in Greek. Literally, so it's giving the rule, or kratos, to the demos, or the people. Okay, so kratos, so demo, kratos. Okay, so demos, kratos, literally people power. All right, people power. Now, this was actually going to be in Athens here at the time. This is going to be a direct democracy. All right, so this is not anything really like what we have today in most other democracies that we have in modern times. This is what they call a direct democracy. So the people, like the actual citizens, directly voted on certain policies and issues. Like, hey, y'all want to go to war? Well, they just opened up a ballot or a voting area, and that's what the citizens would do in Athens, Greece. Not really the case nowadays. So most democracies nowadays, as we discussed, are representative democracies, where we actually elect or vote people in, as government officials, and those actual government officials that we elect in act on our behalf, and they're the ones who then actually vote on certain policies and issues. All right. So that is going to conclude our lesson video for this particular review section for United States and Canada government. All right. Good luck in y'all's test, and I will see you all later. Bye-bye.